Listen, if pulpits in this city alone would return to its duty and report to the worshipers who gather, and report to them about God, report to them about His indignation, report to them about His love, report to them about His attributes. If the pulpit were to do this, if the worshipers in the church house would demand that their preachers preach rather than give them easy words that would otherwise appease their sleepy eyes, if the people of God would humble themselves before their holy God and repair the prayer room and return to the prayer room and once again seek the face of God and not be so easily impressed with the tip of a hat practice of religion. Oh, if the church house would return to the house of prayer, if the hearer today would turn from your wicked sins that so easily entangles you and hinders you from being hungry and thirsty for righteousness. In other words, if God's people were to repent, would that not be a mercy upon the land in God's day of wrath? Oh, may God's people arise today as a humbled people, a redeemed people with joy, with singing. So obviously the nation is talking about human life again. Oh, I would appeal to the State House, not in the sense of save us from this day of disaster, but I would appeal to them. And in the appeal, I would report to them the nature of God. Oh, I do pray that we would have an awakened State House. And that awakened State House would come from a redeemed people in the land who are crying out for God's mercy in our day. You know, God's love, the Bible describes it as a beautiful thing. God's love is deeper and wider and higher and stronger than even I can comprehend. His love is richer, it's shocking, it's glorious, it's brighter than anyone hearing can comprehend. Do you hear Him bidding you come? Do you hear Him saying, lay down your filthy sins and come? Come to me and I will wash you. We even sang it in the song, I'll wash you white as snow, like that's falling outside the building right now. It's covering the barren, brown, filthy, dirty ground and making it brilliant and beautiful. Oh, I say to your preacher, don't you dare give a false report about this God to God's people. I say to my preacher friends, don't you dare go to that pulpit and give them a false idea of who God is. Don't you dare, preacher, to myself, give them a false sense of security that they have, that they're not in any danger of the wrath of God coming upon them. No, I say to your preacher, when I pray in my prayer closet and I weep over the great responsibility that is upon the proclaimer, the evangelist, the preacher, the prophet, God's people, when the message to God's people must be about a holy God and not about our indulgences in our appeasing of sins in our world and even giving excuse for why we do certain sins because, you know, after all, I'm human. Yeah, that's a pretty weak excuse. And I fear that if you try to use that excuse on Judgment Day, that you will find yourself one disappointed person. Oh, you are a human, which means you need to be redeemed. Your only hope in that is not to stay appeasing your sinful appetite, but to repent and turn to God. So the preacher must give a biblical account of the glory of God in this day. And God's people, when you gather to hear a report of God, do not be satisfied with some placated, silly appeasement that speaks to the flesh of men. No, I'm certain of this, that God's people want to hear a report from God. It's what will we do when we hear the report from God that brings great concern to my soul. What will I do when I hear the report? It is to the house of prayer we must return. Once we're there, our duty is to behold our God. Not that man-made, useless idol of a God that you've created in your mind, but the God who tells us who He is, which, by the way, is a great mercy that He has told you how He behaves. He has told you He hates sin. He's told you that He acts against sinners. He has told you that He stands against nations, not just other nations. He stands against all ungodly nations. That report is firm. It is certain. It has been reported to us from a timeless God. And it lays upon us in this time. Oh, may His people be captivated by Him. May God give His people mercy in the day of wrath.